Welcome to Conversations with Aaliyah. Tune in for inspiration, information, and upliftment as creatives and entrepreneurs share their journeys, challenges, and successes.
So today we have Stephanie Bell as my guest. A little bit about her is that she is a member of the Producers Guild of America. Stephanie is also an Emmy nominated and multi-award winning producer and line producer with over 25 years experience in film, TV, and digital content. Does not look like that's possible. Her films, both features and shorts, have screened in over 75 film festivals around the world, garnering more than 50 awards, including 14 for Best Feature. Stephanie's goal is to tell daring and provocative stories that spark a dialogue about the human condition and how our actions impact it. Stephanie is also the founding partner of 3 production companies: BelLipoma Entertainment.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great. HatLine Productions and Remote Films. Stephanie is also an adjunct professor at the College of the Desert in Palm Springs, California, where
Yep.
she teaches producing and line producing. Cool.
Yep.
She also serves as a casting director through her casting company, Two Tall Dames, based in Palm Springs. In addition to her teaching, Stephanie has served as a mentor to high school and college students in the Coachella Valley. As a member of the Palm Springs Women in Film and TV, Stephanie served as co-chair of the Events Committee. Stephanie also has a background in business and legal affairs, having worked in the legal departments at Paramount Picture, Interscope Communications, and Franchise Pictures. Stephanie began her career in the entertainment industry as an actress, performing off-Broadway and regionally. She had the honor of studying in New York City under the tutelage of Oscar-winning director Mike Nichols. Wow, Stephanie, OMG. Okay, how
I think about all the other people in this industry and the things that they've done. I'm like, yeah.
that's so good. That's so amazing. And it's so interesting that you're like still not like that you're still thinking like I could do more.
My God, yes, absolutely. Even Oscar-winning directors, producers, actors, we always think that there's more that we could be doing, I think. But we're never
Mm,
satisfied with what we've done. We want to always do more. As you said, we always want to be expanding.
yeah, yeah. In a good way where you're acknowledging what you've done, but you're like, well, that's not it. I still want to do more. I still
Yes,
want to do more. Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to segue. Normally, I usually ask how you started, um, which it says you started as an actress, but I just saw the thing about Mike Nichols, and I
Yeah.
learned about him about through improvisation,
Oh,
right?
yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And he's incredible. And actually, I just a little the New Actors Workshop, which was the theater training program that he founded along with 2 other very prominent people. Paul Sills was the founder of Second City, and so we had incredible training and improv training through Paul. And then another gentleman, George Morrison, who was a Broadway director and a teacher at SUNY Purchase, and the 3 of them had an incredible training program. It was just an amazing opportunity to be working with 3 great people, and improv was a huge part of the training that we did. I think this was back in the 90s, and I don't think there were a lot of training programs that did improv that were part of that I knew of that were part of kind of like the Meisner Center and things like that. They were focused more on the heavy duty training, and we worked with Mike Nichols and Paul Sills' aunt B, who was the sister of Viola Spolin. Viola Spolin started all all of the great improv training games, red light, green light, all these things that we did as children.
Yeah.
And so it was a remarkable 2-year program, and I was very fortunate to be a part of it. Yeah.
That is so cool. If I remember correctly, is Paul Sills Viola Spolin's son?
Yes, yes, he is Viola. Yes, Viola Spolin was the mother to Paul Sills, correct.
Okay. You're so vibrant, and it sounds like you've been around for a while, but you seriously look very young
Okay.
and have a youthful energy. Okay, first, how are you so prolific? How did you get started? What do you think makes you successful? That's a lot of questions.
Well, I wish I would consider myself successful. I thank you for thinking I am. I really started off, I had started off doing other things before I started pursuing my acting career. Honestly, didn't really, I grew up in a family where acting was considered a hobby. It wasn't something you did as a career. And so I thought my grandfather was an environmental lawyer. So I pursued that road, and it involved a lot of writing. I was an English literature major in college, but it involved a lot of writing. I don't like to write. I was in public relations that involved a lot of writing. I'm choosing all of these things. I don't like to write. I love to read. I love to analyze, but writing for me was torture. But I've been an actor since I was a young child, and had some, you know, had been given some indications that they thought I had some talent. So I thought, you know what, I've always wanted to be an actress. I'm gonna just leave this world. I was 25 years old, living in New York City, had a very good job in a very good PR company. And I thought, you know what, I'm miserable. I want to do something that I love. And my mother really encouraged me. And I share this story because I was very depressed. And she said she read a very interesting article that was written by Eric Erickson, who was was a very well-known therapist. And he had interviewed a lot of people that were elderly. And he'd asked what it was that they regretted most in their life. And it was never a failed job. It was never a failed marriage. It was they regretted not doing something they loved out of fear for failing. I thought, you know what?
Yeah.
I've loved acting my whole life. I'd been involved with a really fun theater company in New York City called the Snarks, which was one of the oldest all-female theater companies that had been founded back in the early 1900s. Yeah, very cool organization. And I just said, you know, I'm gonna screw it. If I don't do this, I don't want to look back on my life and regret not having tried this. So I left my job, got a job working as a waitress and bartender in New York City, and just went to school. Spent a couple of years kind of doing the auditioning, taking classes here and there, and then I got accepted into the New Actors Workshop. And from
Mm.
I just kind of took off, and we're workshopping an off-Broadway play that was brought to Los Angeles, and I got
Mhm.
cast as one of the lead roles. It didn't quite find an audience in Los Angeles, and so the director and the producer were like, we're gonna just let it die. I'm like, well, I'm here in LA.
Mhm.
This was back in the late 90s before we had internet. I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can get some work here, and got a job working at Interscope as a temp. And they were the ones that did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They did Jumanji. They did What Dreams May Come. And I
Ah.
hired full time by them. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna just try this. And so this is when the late 90s, when theater company, there was a lot of activity among small 99-seat theaters at Sacred Fools, which I became a member of, Theater of
Mm.
Note, um, uh, the Zoo District, a bunch of really fabulous, incredibly talented actors, writers, directors that were just trying to continue to work their craft while they were trying to break it into the film world. And I got involved with Sacred Fools very actively, and was doing, performing with them while I was working full time. And I
Mm.
got asked to produce a play, and I thought, well, I don't know what a producer does, but sure, why not? I'd done PR, I'd done organizing things, I'd had business and legal affairs. So I'm like, okay, I'll give this a try.
Mhm.
And I fell in love with it. I'm like, I was behind the
Mm.
scenes,
Mhm.
but I had my finger on everything that happened
Yeah.
on that set. And one of the things that we were taught in acting school was don't wait for people to create work for you, create your own work.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I'll just do this, and I'll put myself in the plays, and I'll start doing film. And so I started doing short films. I produced about 35 plays in LA, the number one, which won awards. And then I started doing short films. And then from there, I segued into features. And then I just kind of said, you know what, I got to just keep doing this. I got to just give it my all. And so
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing. And it's been very successful. I mean, I haven't made a lot of money at it, but I've had wonderful experiences. I've met incredible people. I've actually hired people that have gone on who I've seen go on to have wonderful careers, which has been very satisfying. And so that's it. That's just kind of, just doing everything that I can, never saying no,
Yeah.
always accepting every offer. That's a big thing in improv, right? That you're
Mhm.
with Keith Johns to accept every offer.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing. And I just, every time I'm kind of like, oh my God, this is so hard. I think I just can't do it anymore. I get pulled back in by something, an offer of a job or something that happens, and I'm like, I can't give up.
Yeah.
So 30 years later, 25 years later, I'm still at it.
Wow, that is phenomenal. All right, I'm gonna break down some of what you said
Okay.
into a little bit more details. Once you decided to be an actress because you were miserable,
All
and
right.
then how long did it take before you were taking random classes here and there, starting to audition, and then you got accepted at the new workshop, right?
No, just workshop. Yep.
And so, how long time passed between starting and then getting accepted into the workshop? And then that was a 2-year program.
So it was a 2-year program. So it was about 2 years of me going out there,
Uh-huh.
trying auditioning, getting small bits and things, getting, doing extra work in films, some on-screen classes for like soap operas. That's a lot of actresses have broken into the business through soap operas, right? It's a great
Yeah.
meaning. So it was about 2 years of that, and then I thought, I was taking great classes from an actress she was a working actress, and she gave me some really good advice that I'd love to
Mm.
share. She said,
Yes.
think about what's your end goal in a way as an actor. Do you
Mm.
want to be a movie star? Do you want to be a Julia Roberts? Well, maybe 1% of actors in the world become a Julia Roberts. Do you want to work as an actor? Do you want to make a living as an actor? And I said, I want to make a living as an actor. I want to love what I'm doing. If the success becomes a bit huge like a Julia Roberts, that's great. But I want to make a living as an actor. And she said, so get the
Mm.
training to and get a process, learn your process, and use that process to build your career. And so that was what I thought, I was doing a play, and the director kept on giving me these line readings.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for asking me this question, because I had kind of forgotten that was really the impetus. He kept on giving me line readings,
Yeah.
and I was like, it went against my grain. I'm like, this does not feel comfortable. I did not have enough of a process that I felt like I could take what he was giving me and make it my own. So I thought, okay, I have to
Right.
get some formal training. And so I knew
Mm.
an actor that was not going to do well with teachers that beat you down and yell at you and tell you stuck. I
Yeah,
needed a
me
system
too.
where I would be supported. And the New Actors Workshop just happened to be that organization. And George Morrison taught Wesley Snipes, he taught Edie Falco, he taught
Nice.
Stanley Tucci. Stanley
Oh.
Tucci came to our class, and he was doing a Voltaire play in Manhattan, and he came and spoke to the class about his process, and it was just amazing. And I loved the one of the things I loved about the New Actors Workshop was that they said, there's so many different formats of teaching, right? You could do Meisner, you could do Stella Adler, you could do Stanislavski. Take Study all those if you can. Find what fits with you, what works well with you, what
Mm.
works keep, what doesn't make sense to you, throw it out. Don't try to shove that into your mind and make you do something that doesn't feel natural to yourself. So find your own process through the different
Right.
ways of studying. So for those of you that are actors out there that are kind of looking to do that, I really encourage you to not feel like you have to follow one particular method. If it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't work for you, find a method that works for you and make it
Mm.
your own and adapt it. And so that was kind of the journey. But that was really, really important, was taking the time to really study. And I studied for 2 years. So by the time I got out, I was 29.
Mhm.
Um, and I spent about 4 years doing theater and things in New York City, and then came to LA, and then just never left. I was
Yeah.
going to be a Broadway star. I never thought I was going to fall in love with Los Angeles, and I just did.
I find that the life is so interesting that where it brings you, right? So you're following your passion, figured things out in terms of your process. You figured out a process that worked for you.
I did.
And,
Yep.
and it was something that you just created for yourself.
One of the things that I was taught that was so powerful that George Morrison said was, it takes 10 years to really hone your craft. And if you look at actors that are successful, it's really true. I mean, even thinking about Sharon Stone, I was Hank Azaria that went on to he did The Birdcage with Mike Nichols, which was, I think, launched his career. Again, you think about all the work that you do as young artists, you need to give yourself the time to get grounded in yourself and take movement classes, take improv, take voice lessons. It's a craft. It's a real craft. And so you really have to take the time to train yourself to have that craft. And then you have to work it. One of the other things that I was taught that I loved is use every audition as an opportunity to work your craft. So
Mm.
don't be intimidated by whether or not you get the part. Use that opportunity to learn from the people that you're auditioning for. Really use that time to always be building your craft, expanding your craft. I love how you would expanding your experience, expanding your craft.
Yeah.
So yep, you will continue to get better and better and better. I think the more grounded you are in yourself as an actor, as a performer, as a director, producer, anything that you do, the better you're going to be at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to tell you, of course, I'm an actor and improviser. I hear the word craft so often, and it's one of my pet peeves is the way I've heard it used in so many cases. I love the way you use the word craft.
Thank you.
You use it to me in a way of just skills, that you're working on your
Yeah,
skills and you're
that's
improving your skills.
exactly right.
Whereas sometimes I hear it in a way where it sounds exclusive, like I'm working on my craft and I'm better than you. And I'm like, I don't
Um,
like that
well,
for me. So I
well,
loved the way you used craft in
thank
an
you.
unpretentious way. It was perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So much of this business is ego but I think deep down we're all incredibly insecure about ourselves and skills. I know I still am, and I'm 60 and I still have moments, but I think the thing is that everyone has a special quality to them. Finding that special quality, I think that was one of the hardest things for me starting off, in my mid-20s, because I'd missed the ingenue. So many actresses kind of start in the ingenue and they work their way up to leading lady and they go into having to do supporting roles. But when you're in your late 20s into the business as a leading lady is really hard to break into. Some people have done it. Glenn Close was one of those people that did. But I think that you can't worry about that result. It's the process that you have to enjoy. And that process is constantly building your skill sets,
Yeah,
improving your craft. And there's nothing exclusive about it. And the more you're working with other people and learning from them and watching them,
yeah,
learning from them, that was again something you think back about the people that have influenced you a lot and things that have stayed with you in your as you grow. And Stanley Tucci coming to talk to our class, he talked about how when he first got out of school, he was doing George's, there was a preparation that you did before you went on stage, and he was around a lot of these older actors, and they were kind of making fun of him for his process. So he stopped doing it for a while, and then he found he just wasn't as good as he thought he could be, and so he went back to what he'd been trained to do, and he said, "Screw these people! I don't care what they think. You can't worry about what people think. You can't." That's a really hard part of the industry as an actress. You can't worry about what people think about you. You have to just believe in yourself, not in a way that excludes other people and makes them feel less than, right?
right,
I think the way
right.
that does that, that's their issues, and that's not your issues.
Yeah,
But it's a very competitive industry, and that's part of it as an actor and actresses, particularly. We're it's so much about how you look, and if you're the right color, if you're the right weight, you have the right hair color, what you look like. It's not your abilities. And I don't know that that's ever going to change, unfortunately. I wish it would, but I don't know that it can.
yeah. I love what you said about not worrying about what other people think. It's a great reminder that as we hear it more and more, that'll sink in more and more because there is so much external in
Yeah,
this particular business, in this particular career. But ultimately, you're an artist, right? In some way, shape, or form, whatever that means to you.
yeah.
And as long as you remember your own core, then you're fulfilling, right, what you were meant to do, to bring, to share with
That's right.
the world. Yeah, yeah,
That's exactly it. You think about a lot of those actresses that tried to do what other people thought they should be doing. You get lost. I mean, I went down that path.
yeah,
So I think that's why the more you kind of just listen to your inner self, really listen, trust your instincts. That's a big part of it. And as an actress, it's all about instincts, right? You have to trust your instincts. And that's why I think what George said about, if it doesn't work, throw it out, throw it out. Don't use it. I mean, it's not going to help you. You're trying to
right.
fit, if you're a square trying to fit into a hole, you know, you're
Yeah,
just, it's never going to work.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. All
But
right. So now that you're in LA, right, you decide to stay.
yes,
You've already been acting. You're now about 29-ish, right? When you
good.
moved to LA,
Yeah.
30, 29, 30. Okay. You're in LA. For whatever reason, the play didn't stick in LA, but you decided to stay and
Yeah.
try it out. How was that process for you? And how long did that take? And before someone said, "Hey, will you produce a play?" And you're like, "What? Okay."
See, you also, I haven't thought about these timelines. It was about 2 years. So this was one of the things I also want to encourage people. If you're 45 years old and you want to be an actor, go do it. I was 25, but I had some life experience. Like I mentioned, I'd been a paralegal, I'd been in public relations, I had done a bunch of different things before I started pursuing my acting, and I know that has informed my work as an
Yeah.
actor, going on to as a producer, absolutely as a producer, no doubt about it. So it was about 2 or 3 years, and I was doing the business and legal affairs at Interscope, and then Interscope got bought up by Universal, and I moved over to Paramount. And all that time I was starting to do the theater. So I'd been about in the industry and been probably auditioning for about a year and doing some theater stuff before I got actually really heavily involved in Sacred Fools. That was about 1999. So
Hmm.
about 2 years. And it was by 2000 that I was approached to do the play by this John Sylvain, who's one of the founders of Sacred Fools. And that was where I really found, I was surprised that I really loved the work. And it was
Yeah.
okay that it was behind the scenes because I really loved the fact that like I said, I had nothing on that stage happened without me.
Hmm.
That's kind
Hmm.
of a cool thing to realize.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though I wasn't directing the play, but I was consulting the director as a producer. I'm a creative producer, but I'm as well as a physical producer. So it's very important for me to be on the film set, I want to work with people that that take
Yeah.
my thoughts and do a George Morrison, listen to it, say, okay, let's give that a try. Say, no, I don't really think that's what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
again, that's the collaboration, right? We know it takes a village. Any person that says they can do it on their own, it's not true. It's just your work suffers for it. You want the collaborative process. You want to find people that have the same vision, that have the skill sets. I am not a production designer. I am not an editor. I'm not a director of photography. I've got a great eye because I did photography when I was young. I've been an actor, so I can understand, and I'll give feedback on performance. Those are my skills. And I want to make sure that I'm working with people that honor those and understand and respect that's what I have. And
Yeah.
then that's what I'm bringing to the table. That's why you're hiring me, in the
Right.
first place is to bring my experience and
Right.
my vision, as long as it corresponds to what you're trying to do as a performer or as a director.
Right. Right. Working, like you said, in collaboration, not.
No man is an island.
No, no. And that's kind of a myth, right? That's like it seems changing, but it seems like there is a prevalent myth, especially in American culture. You pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. So it's like,
Right.
I'm doing it." It's
Yes.
like,
Do you have to be the first one to do that, but you need the support of the people around you. I mean, and find
right.
support. And it comes in such unlikely places. Right? You never know who that person's going to be.
Yeah.
You want to remain open as much as possible. And my husband is always kind of joking with me about this because I consider myself to be a very open person. But and as a producer, you have to learn to say no because sometimes you have to say no, but you always want to find the yes within that no. Okay, no, I can't do that, but let's see, let's try this, or this is where the creativity comes out. We don't have $5,000 for a crane shot. Get a drone or figure something else out that's going to get you what you want. And again, that's all collaboration. That's thinking outside the box. It's being open to considerations, being open to thoughts and other people's opinions about things. And ultimately, if it doesn't match your creative vision, if it instinctually doesn't sit right with you, then I'm like, okay, I get it. I step back. And then you have to learn which mountains to climb and which battles to fight too. And I've
Mm,
done that a lot with my producing partners. Certain things I will
yeah.
die on this hill for this, but I will not die for that.
So when you have producing partners, is it that you come together on one project and you're collaborating, and sometimes your producing partner has one idea and you have a different idea and they're in completely different directions? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
that is what it is. And so
Ah,
you have to learn to compromise. Compromise is a big part of it. And I think generally my producing partners will tell me that I'm good at compromising. You have to be able to compromise because sometimes you won't be able to move forward if you don't. And
mm,
my partners have are also writers, and so, and again, because I'm very good at development, but I'm not the writer in the group, so I respect their writing. But I also know there are times when things are not working and they don't make sense to me. And if they don't make sense to me, they probably won't make sense to other people. So again, we've had some battles over things, but ultimately what comes out of it is always better
yeah.
than what we started off with. And I think that's a big part of it also.
Right. And also, like, because they are writers, sometimes you want to have that outside eye to look at something
Wow.
because you want it to it makes sense to you, but it may
Exactly.
not communicate outside. Yeah.
Exactly. I
So
mean,
you
you're
work
so close to
together.
yeah, you're so
Yeah.
close to the material. And I work with a lot of first-time writer directors, and I love that
Mm,
because they're so passionate about what they're doing,
yeah.
but they sometimes are just too close to the material. And so they can't see the bigger picture, actually, how it's not working. So, but then you have to learn how to be delicate about your feedback because if you want them to be able to hear what your feedback is and to be able to take it in and not feel defensive about it. And
Right.
that's something a process that I've learned. And I think I'm constantly learning that, being respectful of what they're trying to accomplish and how can I help them craft it in a way that's going to be better.
Yeah. Going back real quick, y- while you were acting in LA, you got a full-time job supporting your acting. Then you joined Sacred Fools. Then you got the producing and realized you loved it.
Right.
Started doing more producing plays initially, right?
Yep.
And you acted in your plays as well. Is that correct?
And some of them I did. Yeah. Some I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some you did and some you didn't. And so, but you said you're no longer an actor. When did you transition out of being an actress and decide, like, oh man, I really just love the producing?
Probably after doing the short films. I always had just little bit parts. I mean, being a producer and an actor are very hard to do. I
Oh,
give such kudos to actors who produce their own plays. They generally they always have people with them helping them produce,
mm,
and because it's a very time consuming job. It's and you I think you probably know because you produce your own. I don't I think you've done some producing yourself, and it's takes a lot of work. Um, so probably I think again about a well, probably about 5 years into my producing, once I really started doing the feature films, and I didn't have the scripts that I found that there were parts for me that I wanted to play, and
yeah,
again when I was in my late 30s, so couldn't be the leading lady. Oh, I probably could have, but no, I not I couldn't do both. I just
yeah,
couldn't do both. So the producing for me was what I was really confident. I always have had some slight insecurities as an actress, and I'm like putting myself out there. So I was a little bit of a chicken. I went the easy route to a certain degree, I think, by not kind of continue to do the acting. And I missed it, and sometimes I think about going back to it, but
hmm,
it's just so much time in a day, and
yeah,
so I think for me, putting the energy into the producing because it is so time consuming and labor
yeah.
intensive. For about probably the past 10 years, I've been focusing only on the producing.
Okay. But
Yeah.
no regrets though. Like sometimes you think about the acting. You could
Oh,
always do it back
I
anytime,
I
right?
always can. It's funny too because there's a wonderful script that we're just about to hopefully option,
Yeah.
and it's got these great characters. There's not really any character for me in it, but I'm like, if I could find a role to play. So I think eventually I kind of want to maybe put myself back in just in some of the smaller roles. I don't see myself being a leading person in any of them, but it's so once you get in front of the camera, as
Yeah.
an actress, it's always in your blood. And
Yeah.
I've about going back to theater, but it's just time. It's time. I just don't have the time for
Yeah.
it. If I'm gonna be
Yeah.
doing anything. I'm gonna be putting it toward the things where I can have control of the creation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it sounds like you get a lot of satisfaction out of creating a
do.
full project. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do. I just love it. I'm just so proud of the work I've done, the people I've worked with, the careers I've helped
Yeah.
launch or have included in the luck I've had of working with some great people. And it's such a hard business, but it's once it's in your blood, it's really hard to get it out.
Yeah. Definitely.
Either
Uh,
way,
Now that we're into your life now, currently producing full time, but you also teach, right?
I
Do you
do.
want to talk a little bit about that
Yeah,
as well as some of your projects coming up?
it's so funny. When I first I moved out to Palm Springs with my husband to be with his family to help kind of care for his elderly parents, and we loved it out here, and so we decided to stay. So I go back and forth between here and LA. I got involved with the Palm Springs Women in Film and Television, which is an arm of women in film based out of LA.
Mm,
I got involved with through that, and then I met some people who were teachers out here, and they said, we need some great teachers, and you've got this experience. I think you'd be really great at this. And they were developing the producing section of the program at College of the Desert film program, and I had never taught before, and I thought, oh my God, I had no idea how to teach. Can I really teach people what I know? So it was really fun to learn that, oh, I kind of do know I kind of know what I'm doing. I do think I can actually teach people this stuff. And it was so gratifying because I'm dealing with the one thing that's great about College of the Desert is that it's community college. And so you've got people from, just graduating from high school, all the way from people in their 50s that are kind of doing what I had done. I wanted to do this. I've always wanted to be a writer or a producer. I'm going to take some classes. And so to be able to teach these students of every age range,
yeah.
and I've gotten some lovely feedback that, I'm doing a good job. And
Yeah.
I'm not easy on the students. So the classes aren't, you don't breeze through the class because when you're doing line producing, there's a lot of stuff that you have to teach them scheduling and budgeting and location management, set management. Those are the things.
Mm,
And the classes are only about 8 weeks long. So I'm trying to get a lot of stuff in. But one of the great things about the teaching is that I'm able to bring people from all the people that I've known, directors, producers, writers, costume designers, production designers, editors, first ADs, location managers. I bring them through Zoom. I bring them into the classroom. So it's not just the theoretical learning, but they're hearing from people in the industry that are doing the work. And I think that's
right.
been extremely valuable to them. And so
Yeah.
I've been thrilled that I've been able to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm really loving it. I'm really loving it now.
That is so cool. And then, like, I know what a line producer does, and I know you get paid as a line producer,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
As a producer, how do you get paid? Because you're the producer.
Well, good question. Either you negotiate into your contract with who you're working with, but when you're
Okay.
developing scripts yourself and trying to find financing, you're kind of the last person to get paid. I mean, some of the projects I've worked
Mm,
on, I've never been paid for them, but I get paid back in the experience and the credit, and now I'm a member of the PGA, and it's because of those projects that I can actually be a PGA member now, Producers Guild member,
wow.
which I'm very thrilled to be a part of. So you really have to kind of build into the budget. But the producer is kind of the person that gets paid last, or they're the one that's
Wow.
expected to have their budget, their fee gets cut. You can't cut the fee of the director or the actors, but you can do that with
Wow.
that. You pull the money from the producing section. So that's the one hard part of it. But
Yeah.
so you're not going in it for the money, you're going in it for the love of the
Yeah.
work. I mean, believe me, there are plenty of producers out there that make a lot of money. I'm in the independent world, and the independent world is very different from studios in terms of that kind of thing. But you build it into your budget, and then you get the financing, and that's how you get paid. But you do a lot of work before you get paid. That
Mm,
process is generally, unless you have, again, a first look date with some studio, or you have funding that you've
yeah.
created yourself, then and I'm not quite that level of a producer. I have to admit, I'm really the indie producer.
That is still so huge. Ah, this is so fantastic. I am loving this. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. Thank you. I'm hoping I'm giving some information that's helpful to people.
Yes, very helpful, very inspiring. Your journey and everything, and just your openness and sharing your heart and gifts. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not a linear journey. That's the thing about art, about being an artist either. You just kind of have to follow where it takes you sometimes. And I think it's important to have a goal, an absolute goal. And I think one of the things that I've struggled with is that sometimes I've just kind of let things happen to me versus being aggressive about what it is that I want, but because it
Hmm.
took time to figure out what it was that I wanted.
Yeah.
Um, and I think and that's okay. One of the things I think the way that our culture has been, we've been raised, you talked about this a bit earlier, is, you get an idea and you have to do that and you follow that path. If you don't follow that, if you're not successful at that path, you're a failure. And you can't think that way as an artist, because you're gonna have a lot of quote unquote failures, whatever that even is. You know what I mean? There's no such thing in my mind about failing at something as an artist. You learn from it. It may not be what you want it to be, but you always take what you learn from each project that you've worked on, and you apply it toward the next one, and you leave the bad stuff behind, hopefully, and you take the good stuff and you utilize that, and that's how you grow, right? You really do. You
Right.
you need to make those mistakes. I'm thinking about some of the projects that I've done, and some of the things that have happened on the film sets, not because out of negligence, but just because of being, the nature of the industry. And man, I've been so grateful to learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
I had one music video that I worked on where, like, if everything that could go wrong on that video went wrong.
Oh my
And
gosh.
thank God it happened. It was one of the first times I had done a music video. It was the first music video I'd ever done as a production manager. And some of the mistakes were things I had done, some of the things were mistakes that were done by the producers. And then we were dealing with helicopters and green screens, and we were up in the mountains up in Santa Clarita, and the
Wow.
director had a meltdown, and it was, oh my God, it was incredible. But it was such a great experience. I'm like, okay, now I know these things. Remember to get people's allergies when you're making the meal.
Oh
Because
my gosh.
when you're not going to school and you're not really learning, you just kind of learn on the job, right?
Yeah.
And the director was convinced I'd ordered this beautiful pasta primavera, not knowing that he was allergic to mushrooms. And there were mushrooms in the pasta primavera, and so he thought I was trying to poison him.
Oh no.
So fortunately, he didn't, but it made me drive 2 hours to get a steak. It held up the shoot. But again, that was one of the first times when I was first doing it, and I thought, remember, always get, you learn, always get people's allergies. Make sure you know what they can
Right.
and can't eat, what their likes and dislikes are.
What I love hearing about that is, first of all, I'm sorry. That must not have been fun in the moment at that
Oh,
time.
it was
That
not.
was probably pretty, yeah, pretty bad. But I appreciate you sharing that, because what I'm hearing from that is your resilience, that you have still had a great attitude, that it was like horrible. And then you just went, okay, I learned from it. I'm not stopping. I'm going
Mhm.
to learn and take it and move forward and continue going and not make that same thing have
Yeah,
that happen again.
I never made that same mistake again, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I think that that's really inspiring to hear because understandably, I could see anybody understandably going, forget it. This is not, I'm not doing this again.
Mhm.
And that's understandable as well. If your goal is to do producing, then you don't let something horrible like that stop you. And you didn't. And you had a great attitude. And look at you now telling that story, and it's hilarious.
You know, I literally I just finished producing about 2 years ago a wonderful proof of concept for some very talented director, writer, producers, and there were things on that film set that I had to deal with. Every set that you're working on, you're going to have challenges that are going to come up. And the one thing that's wonderful about this industry, right? No two projects are ever going to be the same. That's what we love about it, right?
Yeah.
So you do want to be able to take what you've learned from other experiences and bring that to that set with you, but you're going to have other things that are going to come up. And that's just part of the industry, and that's part of being a producer. That's where the experience of learning how to keep a cool head, pull the person aside. You have to deal with everybody differently. You're dealing with different personalities on every film set. You're going to have different areas of the business that are going to be a problem that you're never experiencing before, and you just have to kind of figure out how to take what you have learned and apply it toward that new thing. And
Mm,
again, that's a situation where you look to those around you for the support. And that's why, again, I talk about it being a village of people, and you really want to work with people that you enjoy working with. That's another thing, learning that and learning,
yeah.
maybe I won't work with that person again, or I love this person, I want to work with them for the rest of my life. I have to tell you, I have so many people that I feel that way about. And one of the frustrating things for me as a producer is, particularly kind of being in the indie realm, is I go to these people, like, I can't get them because they're working on they're so busy, which is
Yeah.
great. That's what you want, right? But I'm like, oh, I don't have that $2 million to pay you like I thought I would, to do the job. I'll get you on the next one. But
Yeah.
so we're building that team, building that community of people that you get to go back to over and over again and say, I've got this great project. And sometimes you say, look, I can't give you what your normal rate is. Would you take this? And because they love you and they've worked with you and they know you're good at what you do and they appreciate what you've done for them in the past, they're willing to do that.
Right.
Again,
Yeah.
that's the wonderful thing about building that community of people that you get to work with over and over again.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of the challenges, just real quick, can you talk about that you keep a cool head? Do you have any other advice for in general, like when people are in a challenge?
Mhm.
Do you have advice for how people can get through it?
Okay, I think one of the most important things is to first take a deep breath.
Mm,
Take a deep breath and take a step back from what's going on. Particularly if you're in a heated moment with someone, say, this is not the time for, I hear you. I want to discuss this with you. Let's take a moment. Let's take this aside. Let's go have a conversation about that. Taking a deep breath back and trying not to react immediately to something is so important. Even if you
mm,
have that knee-jerk reaction, and I can tell you honestly, I'm not always successful at that. There are certain times when your back is up against a wall where your instinct is to push back. But always, again, follow your instincts, take that step back, take that breath, take 10 seconds to calm yourself, get yourself centered before you dive into it, because otherwise it's going to escalate. And you don't want
mm,
anything to escalate. You want to try to diffuse the situation. So you do that by always acknowledging what the other person is feeling,
mm,
because again, by making them feel, you want them to feel heard. If they
yes.
don't feel heard, they're going to get angry, they're going to get defensive, they're not going to be able to hear you.
Right.
So making sure that you do that,
Yeah.
and then stepping back from the situation and pull them out of the situation, away from prying eyes as best you can,
Yeah.
and have the conversation then. And if you need to bring someone else in, the first AD or whoever you're working with, or as a producer, the line producer, get them to be with you to have that conversation with whoever it is that you're having the issues with, so that you
Yeah.
have someone there to be your backup and to be a witness to
Yeah.
what's going on. But I do think the first step is to take that deep breath, give yourself that minute to respond, so that you are diffusing the situation. And taking that breath and taking that step back is the first thing to do that will help you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. Thank you. As a producer, you have to pick and choose which projects you're going to do because there's a lot. And as you said, you have to put your all into it. And so if you're going to put your all into it, you got to love that project.
Yes,
Y-
you do.
You're working on some right now that you are loving and some others that you've loved and done. Do you want to share about those where we
Thank
can
you.
follow you, find out more,
Oh gosh, I'm
Yeah.
so proud about social media. Well, I've got two projects that I'm very proud of. One of them is called I Am Still Here, and the other is Inverse. I Am Still Here. I think them both are on Amazon. I'm Still Here is about child sex trafficking. It's a very
Oh.
gritty, powerful story about child sex trafficking in the United States, and it's a drama. It's by first-time writer-director Misha Marcus, very talented writer-director. It's got a great cast. Johnny Diaz plays the lead, kind of the bad guy, and he's a brilliant actor, and he's out there now in the world doing a lot of great stuff. And so that movie did tremendously well across the film festival circuit and really helped to educate people about this very, very serious issue that we're dealing with in the United States and across the world. So it's a really cool sci-fi, kind of along the lines of Memento. And if anyone ever knows the movie Primer, which is a very, very cool intellectual, it's a very intellectual sci-fi film about parallel universes. So it's a lot of fun. And that's by a very talented writer director, Matt Duggan. So those two projects I'm very particularly proud of because those are the ones that I kind of was the lead producer on. Right now I'm working on some projects. One is about a spy drama set against the backdrop of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And we're kind of, I can't really talk too much about that right now because we're in some negotiations. So but it's it won Slam Dance in 2018 for best screenplay at Slam Dance, which was very cool. And then I've got a wonderful film called Sane Men, which is about two sisters whose mother loves felons and believes in that, these men have all been framed. And so she brings them into the home. And it's how the daughters try to deal with their mother's kind of crazy belief in these men and whether are they really killers or are they, were they really do the crimes or did they not? And about kind of what the family structure is and what your family really means. And
Mm.
so that's really, it's like a very dark comedy. And then there's this other one that I can't talk too much about it because we're just in the beginning stages of it, but it's by a wonderful writer, Michael LaPoma. And you can follow Michael at Michael LaPoma and at Misha Marcus, at Jess Fritz, at sanemenmovie.com, BelLipoma Entertainment, my website, bellipoma.com, and then HatLineProductions.com. Those are the two active production companies. And then for me, for social media, I'm not really good on social media. Steph Veneris is Facebook, but Stephanie at bellipoma.com. Stephanie at bellipoma.com is a way to reach me if you're interested in reaching out to me. I'm always
Yeah.
love meeting new people and artists. And right now we're not really taking on any new projects, but love meeting actors and producers and directors and writers, just constantly building your network of people. So
Yeah.
out to me.
That is fantastic. And you're in Palm Springs, but that's
I'm
LA.
in Palm Springs in LA. Yeah, I
Yeah.
go back and forth between the two. So, but I'm a California babe right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm loving New York, and some of these projects we're probably gonna be filming on the East Coast. So I'm looking to
Ooh.
again connect with great people on the East Coast.
Hey.
Universe, it's a world, and one of our directors is based in Denmark. So we're an international organization.
Yes, you are.
Hopefully, you're getting yourself out there. And if I already have a project. Actually, I'm thinking about one of the characters in this screenplay. Happens to be a perfect fit for you. So let's see how that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Although I have to tell you, I am terrible at auditioning.
I get it. I get it.
You're an actress, so you know.
Yes, and I don't really believe that that's true. I don't believe you're terrible at audition because you're working all the time, so you can't be that bad.
Oh, thank
You know,
you. That's so
you
sweet of
definitely
you.
do. I mean, I have to tell you, I actually was a great auditioner,
Yeah.
and then my process was one of those things where I was really great at auditions, and then when I first started doing the rehearsal process, I was kind of bad, and then I got better.
Yeah.
That's the other reason why I'm not acting. It was the kind of circular right. You go down, you dig deeper down into your character, and the more you get
Ah,
comfortable. So, that's why I was great at improv because kind of being right off the top, but constantly going back and having to redo the thing over and over again was that process for me was challenging. So
yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I think I'm similar in that that's why I love improv so much too.
improv is so wonderful because you have to be right there and listening to other people and
You're so
accepting every
present.
offer.
Yes.
You have to be so present.
Present. Yeah. Yeah.
We have to be
Um,
present in life, right? We have to be present in life in everything that we do.
yes, ideally, right?
I
So,
do.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah. I just want to thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here today,
Oh, you're so
spending
welcome.
your time, sharing your wisdom and knowledge. Oh my God, thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad I feel like I shared something that you found helpful, and hopefully, your audience will as well. So it was my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me in. It was a thrill to meet you, and I look forward to continuing our relationship in the future.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for listening to Conversations with Aaliyah Lay. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on Instagram at Aaliyah Lay, ALYALEI.